In the last episode, we had all gel coat removed and were ready to begin repairs to the deck top skin so we could lay new fiberglass to reinforce it. We discovered, however, some rotten plywood, but we tackled the problem right away and get ready to replace the core.
Ready to put the new core from marine ply. We have a lot of clamps to clamp it down and secure it. And also those two small bolts, they go there. This is where one of our standing rigging points is. So we also secure the new core with those two babies. I'm going to bring more clamps. We will need more, a lot of more. So the last thing, on the bow of the boat, I'm going to prepare a small corner where we're going to mix all our resin with the additive to bond the new plywood in this area. And I also have to wait for Nat. She went to the shop to bring some beer because it's 10 o'clock in the evening and I think it's a beer time.
But the beer time has to wait because we have work to do. This part of the deck has a slight camber. Something we missed to get on camera is that Ziggy made cuts to the bottom part of this plywood so that it conforms better to the shape of the deck. To bond this ply, we use 404 high density filler. We apply it to the bottom skin as well as to the plywood. We then secure it in place using 2 bolts and then with a bunch of clamps. If you cannot use clamps because there is no access like we have here via our hatches, you can use just bolts with washers, but remember to remove them once epoxy is set but hasn't cured yet. Or do what we did and coat the thread of the bolt in wax and remove it next day. But this isn't over yet. We mix some more of that thickened epoxy to fill the gaps around the perimeter of the ply, and we do that before the epoxy cures to achieve a good chemical bond. The gap is quite big, so we are careful not to apply too much epoxy, which could cause it to start burning. I think we are off to a good start. This is our neighbor's boat. We literally just met him here in the shed. We keep meeting new people. They come and go very often while we are here. So that's the way it works. But yeah, he was very kind that he actually approached us and asked whether we're gonna find this platform there behind me useful. We're like, yeah, hell yeah. He's gonna lend it to us so we can use it for quite a long time because he's coming out of the shed very soon. And possibly until next year he's not gonna need it. So that is gonna be a great help, especially when we will be doing the top sides and all the repairs around the port lights there. So far we've been using, you've probably seen it before, trestles, and on top we were putting scaffold boards. So we were sort of building our own platform, but you couldn't move it around so easily. We had to disassemble and then put it together again to move it. While this one has wheels and it will make life so much easier. So we are grateful to John for offering us this platform. Big thanks. Let's hope we can keep this positive momentum. It looks great already, but a bit of sanding is in order since we need to fill those gaps with a bit of that filler to ensure everything is seamless. So while the filler is setting and until it becomes tacky, we've got some time, so we are going to move on to sort of smaller repairs. One of them is here on the bow, and it is where the anchor switch used to be. That place resembles a bit of a Swiss cheese with all the holes, old and new. And we suspected that the water has seeped in, but after removing a section of the core, it turns out that it is actually solid. So that's a relief. Now we just replace the core, and then we'll be rebuilding the top skin. And as for the other little project we wanted to take care of in the meantime, all those aluminium, very worn out cleats are being replaced with very sleek stainless steel ones. And of course, the spacing for the screws of the new ones is completely different to the existing. So we need to seal all the holes left in the deck by the old cleats. We haven't got them here to show you. We are eagerly waiting for delivery, but as soon as we get them, we'll definitely show them off. Okay, so Ziggy has started laying mats. It's a bit loud. There's mayhem out there. Jesus. I hope you can hear me. So first mat is going to be a chop strand mat. That will be followed by biaxial mat, and we'll finish off with plain woven, I think, what's it called? Let me see. Plain weave woven glass cloth. Tongue twisters. So it is a good thing that we caught that problem with, the rotten plywood. We are definitely not stopping there. And, we're going to check all of the hatches for any problems or any signs of rot.
Nie jest tak gorzej. It's okay.
Okay, so we are making bigger cutouts for the hatches that we've just actually bought. quality control from down below. Cannot see you. This looks good. You can open from here as well. They're quite tight. There you go. Looks good. I'll be completely honest with you. They are not the hatches that we would normally go for. Not our first choice for sure. But we had to settle for those hatches because we just had a problem getting hold of the exact same size that would fit here, and they were either too big or they were just very small. We definitely didn't want to go smaller because there's not much light in the salon. And also going smaller is always more difficult than making a bigger cutout. There's just more work involved. We did reach out to several companies that advertise making custom-made sizes. So they will, you provide them with the cutout size and the radius, and they will just manufacture one for you from scratch. But turns out they could never give us a straight answer that whether they can make them or not. And they offered us similar size to what we have here, but they were just smaller, a few centimeters smaller, and we didn't want that. I think one of the previous owners must have come across the exact same problem, and when they were replacing the hatches, where they had an aluminium frame made to size, which was fixed to the deck, and then the hatch was fixed to that frame, and it just looked very odd. We never liked that look, and we always wanted to change that. We always wanted to, for all the hatches on the boat to be uniform, exact make and model. Well, that's not the case. We have to live with that. Those things are minor, but sometimes they just bother you until you get used to them and you forget about it. And we do quickly forget about it as something way more important grabs our attention. The core, which is balsa core here around the hatch, is actually all pretty much gone. It crumbled into sort of pieces. We don't know how far the damage is sort of around the hatch. So we plan to, we don't want to go too crazy, but we also want to make sure that this area is secure and it's all fixed before we fit the new hatch. So what we plan to do is cut out the top skin, and then we can check the state of the core further sort of down here, and then replace it with marine plywood. And the gap you see here, we actually have dug it out with just a finger. That's how bad it was. So it looks like we have to repeat the same job we've just started at the bow. We decided to replace it with the plywood instead of balsa, which was originally there, just because we have quite a bit of it left over. Okay, so far this much Ziggy has cut out, and as he was going further, he had to go further because it was all rotten and looked like pretty much like that, or like that. So he was cutting further and further, and it was getting better. The further down he went, it was getting better, but mostly the problem was around this line here at the edge, because the water, let me show you, the water must have been gathering here and sort of pulling up here. But the further he went, it was looking better, but you could feel in your fingers literally that it was sort of damp. Apologies for lack of focus in this shot, but if you look closely, you'll notice how much water the balsa holds within. So he cut all the way up to here, where it's really solid and feels dry to touch as well. It's a good sign already. So we're probably gonna cut all this out anyway, because it will probably make it easier to just put a plywood of that size rather than try and cut, you know, this weird shape. So from such a small hatch, such a small opening, and such a big problem. In all honesty, after replacing that plywood at the bow, coming across this doesn't feel so scary anymore. And that's a wrap for today's video. We'll pick up right where we left off next week, so make sure to stay tuned. A huge thank you to all our subscribers and a warm welcome to all the new faces who've joined us. We love reading your comments, so please leave your thoughts below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. So see you next time.